how do you make friends, or how have you made friends when it comes to doing business? I was never gonna make this video, but I realized more than ever, people are actually asking me this question. And I realized something throughout like my 6 years of probably being successful or whatever, I don't really think I've organically ever met anyone. And in a way, I'm kind of in a position right now where I've been just on my own for like 5 months, just working on things. And it really hit me when somebody said, and how do you avoid the whole like lonely phase and everything? You see everyone on social media, they've got a ton of friends and everything. And I realized something. I'm like, look, everyone that I know, we're all in like separate locations right now. I got a friend, he's in Europe right now. He's in Western Europe. I got another friend, he's in Southeast Asia right now. I got another friend, he's also in Southeast Asia right now. My other friend, he's in Kuwait right now. My other friend, he's in Bahrain right now. Another friend, he's in Saudi Arabia right now. None of us are even in proximity to each other. None of us. Another friend, by extension, Australia, UK, where's the other one? Fuck it, who cares, right? But my point is, none of us are actually next to each other. And it really hit me, and I realized this entire time, I've just been alone, just working on stuff. Like, it's been me, my projects, the stuff that I need to work on, me communicating with the people that I work with, but we're all completely separated. And I think there is something that's really important to learn from that. When I was like 18, I was like, oh, you know what? When we're 20, we're going to be in Lambos. We're going to all be together. We're all going to be cruising around Miami or whatever, or Dubai. I realize now, I'm like, none of that shit is actually real. It's really not. But I realize anyone who's above like 100K a month, etc., that I know, maybe even like 2 million a month or 3 million a month, every single person happens to be doing something extra with the time. Now, let me give you an idea of what I mean. This means picking up a new language, learning a new tool, learning how to code or whatever, anything new. People who are in this range of income are typically doing this thing. And it's very similar to what people do when they're just about to like get to the 10K months, when they're on the way there. It's kind of what they're doing. It's like you're in your room alone, just studying, just working on things. It's kind of ironic how you work so hard. You go from unemployed to like working super hard to become even more unemployed. You know, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine. She's really big on YouTube, and you know, one day she's gonna see this video probably. She's gonna be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about me? But she's big in the finance YouTube like whole thing, right? She's been around for like a long time. And I'm looking at her situation. She's also in a very good situation. She's just traveling alone. She's just been all around the world alone, going Dubai, going US, etc. And I realized you really don't have people around you when you're doing very, very well, but you forget about it. And you actually become really, really happy about that. Like, I mean, the idea of wanting to have this collectivist mentality is very difficult at a range in which you have a ton of income. It's very difficult to do that. If you have a ton of assets, you have a ton of income, you got to worry about this person. You know what used to happen to me? And some of the people who I don't want to see this video, they're going to see this. They're going to probably see this at some point. People used to message me all the time, being like, hey, bro, you know, I'm in this tough situation right now, etc. It objectively be a situation that they got themselves into, inevitably through horrible financial decisions or doing something stupid. Like, I've seen someone buy a ton of cologne and clothes and etc., spend like 10 grand on that. But then, you know, like 3 weeks later, he's like, hey man, you know, like I'm behind on my rent, etc. Can you help me out? And I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking help you. Look what you've done like 3 weeks ago. I've seen you spend about like 8-9K, right? And this is what I mean. A ton of people used to message me, used to be like, hey bro, you know, it's crazy because I got to the point where I could actually sense it coming. You know, it would say so-and-so is typing on Snapchat or whatever, back when I had Snapchat. And I knew, I'm like, this guy never asked me before, but just the way that he was just typing for a long time, etc. I knew it was coming. And this is something you're going to see a lot if you hit the 10K income range, or maybe just around that, because you're going to start to really taste success and people around you are going to start to notice and everything. And there is also another thing that happens, is that people feel like you owe it to them to perpetually help them out, no matter what the situation is. The entitled archetype has to be studied. It's like this person who thinks that just because you happen to know them at some point in time and you barely know who they are now, that you are entitled, or they're entitled to your help. And when I tell you that I've done a lot for people, I really mean it. Like, I've flown across the world, swear to God, across the world, just to like sit down with someone and be like, look, I'm gonna be here in your city for like X amount of months, let's figure it out, etc. Nothing came out of that. Nothing really truly meaningful came out of that. I didn't ask for anything. This is just something that I realize a ton of people do that are similar to me. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people that are in similar situations to me where they didn't necessarily come from like a very flashy upbringing or anything like that. So therefore they want to really bring people around them with them. This is fairly common. And I swear to God, I've been in situations where I've lived in other countries and then somebody messages me after like what, 2-3 years. And they're like also in business as well. And they're like, oh, you know, I got this crazy idea, etc. And of course, you don't have to always be talking to people, you know, like there's many times where for 6-7 months, I don't talk to my closest friends and we'll focus on different things. So it's kind of regular. And they'll tell me, yeah, I got this business idea. And I'm like, okay, cool. In 2 days, I'm going to be there. Fly all the way across the world. Get there, sit down, meeting, coffee, everything. You get what I mean? They're telling me their business ideas. I'm telling them my input, etc., how we could work together. And shit doesn't really play out exactly how you think it would. And that's fine. It happens all the time. And I realize there's a few things in this life that you shouldn't be forcing. Friendships and business relationships, they're so forced nowadays. So many people, they really try to push their way in. Oh, how do you network, etc. I don't fucking network. I don't do that. I find it stupid. I hate it. You know, people come up to me and they're like, oh, you know, I heard from so-and-so that you do this. I just want to get your contact. Fuck all of that, right? I used to live in a very luxury building at some point, not super long ago. And even the concierge were like really interested in what I'm doing. Like they see me, I'm relatively young compared to the average demographic there, which is the millennial tech startup person. You know, I ran into people over there who are in professional sports, who do business at a very high level, who run like top Amazon stores and stuff, everything. And anything you want to name it. Even the concierge used to tell me, one of the guys at the concierge used to tell me, hey, you know, so-and-so actually like lives here. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but I look him up and he's actually quite important. So my point is, this is the type of environment I'm talking about, right? Yet they want to know what I'm up to. And usually networking only works in this type of way. Doesn't work when, you know, you're somebody who's aspiring. You know, you go to someone, oh, I'm an aspiring, you know, entrepreneur and I want to do it. Yeah, whatever, bro, right? Who cares? Bring a product forward. That's what's really, really important. You have to do that. You have to be the product and you have to embody the product that you come with. You got to share that message. That's the only way to really network. That's the only viable way to network. I have a friend. I don't know if she's ever going to see this. I don't want her to ever see this, to be honest. But she lives all the way across the world, right? She's very prominent when it comes to business. Very, very good at business, very big in business. She holds like some of these events, like these, almost you can call it like a networking event. And what typically happens at these events is you have a ton of people who are aspiring to really get into entrepreneurship, to get into business, etc. Tons of people that come to really get money for their business or to pitch their business to like a bunch of investors. I don't know what the fucking setup looks like. It's probably like some X Factor or like, could have just fucking said Shark Tank. What am I? But you get what I'm talking about. Anyways, this is what the setup looks like. And she realized tons of people come in there with theory, idea, ideology, nothing practical. And I realized tons of people nowadays, the mistake that they're making, if they want to meet the right people, if you want to meet the right people to get funded for your business, if you want to meet the right people to build something or you want to partner with someone, you know what you should be doing? You know what you really should be doing? If you're sitting here and you're like, hey, I want to make a software and I want to team up with somebody who really knows what they're doing, learn a bit of coding, right? Or maybe nowadays you could use fucking AI or whatever. Make a front end. Maybe you don't know the back end, right? I'm not telling you to make an index.html. I'm not telling you to learn CSS, etc. But just have a front end. And when you have a front end, you can go to someone and say, hey, look, this is what I want in there. I've got a front end. I've got the idea. I've got the proof of concept, etc., etc. I know you're a developer, or perhaps you've done business and you know developers. Let's make something happen. When you have something, you are in a infinitely better position to actually pitch something. Imagine you coming up to someone and being like, you know, I wanna start like a database, etc. I wanna do this. It's not gonna fucking work. It's not gonna fucking work. Like, you have no idea how many situations where people come up to me, do you wanna start a tobacco brand? I'm like, no, I cannot do that. Do you wanna start up this? I'm like, no. Do you wanna do, oh, you know, I've got this idea and I wanna import, export this out of this country. I'm like, have you done it? Have you got any experience? Do you know anyone who's doing import, export? Are you working with anyone, etc.? They don't have anything. They don't have a clue. They don't have an idea. They don't have a setup. How the fuck am I supposed to come in there and do anything? So here's the idea. If you do not have 50% figured out already and 50% to show, then you're telling the other person to do 100%, or to initiate the beginning of the other 50% that you're supposed to do your due diligence on. How does that make any fucking sense? That doesn't make any sense. You cannot be like that, guys. You cannot be like that. I was traveling in Japan, and I remember I was walking through this train station. And you know, if anyone who knows Japan, you know, you go through tons of underground train stations, and then they take you to other train stations and other areas, etc. Very cool, right? I remember I got this message. This guy hasn't messaged me in forever. Like, I'm talking maybe like 3 years, right? And this is one of the guys that I really helped out, like flew across the world and helped out. He's a good guy, right? And I want to help him. He's just like, hey bro, you know, I'm doing X, Y, and Z business. I don't want to obviously say everything because some of these details, you know, I wouldn't obviously want to put them out there. But he's like, I've been doing X, Y, and Z business for like a long time, and I'm not really seeing success with it. And I said, okay, cool. And he's just like, I want to pivot entirely. I want to do something completely different. I want to do business. I'm like, all right, cool. What do you want to do? And then he's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what do you research? Like, what do you like? You know, perhaps maybe you've seen someone else do it. Maybe you got motivation that way. There has to be a reason, right? No? And then he's like, do you have any ideas? I'm like, I've given you ideas before, but I'll give you ideas again now. I gave him ideas. And then he was just like, okay, I'll think about it. A day went by. And I'm like, hey, have you thought about it? Because I want him to do good, right? I'm trying to push him in the right way, influence him in a way. And he's just like, you know what? It's a bit fucked up and difficult and this and that. You know, it's just like the typical stuff that people say. And he was just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to my business. And this business I had previously done as well. And he's like, because you've had such immense success with that at some point, could you provide me with some resources? I warned him. I said, hey, you know what? Some of these resources that I was using before are not as applicable today. It's a whole different situation now. We're talking about like 3 years ago compared to like obviously today. Obviously when I was around him and etc., I was doing that other business, hence why he knew about it. And then I said, look, I'll give you something objective that still applies today. This is how you could do your research, etc. I gave him everything that I could give him. 2 days later, I messaged him. I remember like I was at like some event or some serious event, and it really motivated me. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to push myself beyond the next level, be a bit more comfortable, put myself on camera. This was like almost a catalyst of getting on camera, doing exactly what I'm doing right now, obviously, etc. And then I messaged him. I'm like, oh yeah, what about him? Let me check on him. Let me maybe spark something in him, right? You know, do something. Message him. I'm like, hey, do you check out the resource? Do you read the documents, etc.? Oh no, bro, I didn't want. What are you talking about? Yeah, I think I'm gonna continue in my own way that I was doing before. I really hoped that he wasn't gonna tell me that. Why? Because of his own sake. Obviously, it has nothing to do with me anyways, right? Whether he continues or doesn't, it's only a bit unfortunate, really, but that's all it is. But I really wanted to see some success come out of him, so I was like, but why? But why would you do that to yourself? Why couldn't you just... Why not just do this? This is very objectively like a really good thing to be doing. And it's not even comparable to what he was even doing at the time as well. And then he's like, yeah, you know, it's a bit complicated, etc., this and that. And I realized, you know, not everybody is gonna understand it the first time around. Now, I do have faith in this person, considering like, you know, how diligent he's been over the years, like 6-7 years doing this. And I'm like, he's gonna probably get there at some point, but maybe just not now. But I realize so many people are like this. The vast majority of people who are in business, right, in these networking events, in these situations, you know, I've gone invited to like a billion things. Like they would get my company at, so it'd be like at company.com, right? But they'd like just put my name on the front and they'd actually find my email somehow like that, or through some other unconventional means or whatever. And then they would message me, hey, you know, like I want to have you at this event in Greece. I want to have you in this event, you know, like, and then I realized, I'm like, who are these people? Like, who the fuck are these people? Who am I even going to talk to? Who's even reaching out to me? I've gotten like the most like random location requests ever. I'm going to probably talk about that in another video. But I realized all of these people, they're just like random and they feel like it's productive just being around me. And this is not in like an egotistical way or anything. No, not anything like that. But people feel very productive being around people who are fairly proactive. If you're proactive right now, you're somebody who, you're good with managing your time. You're good with managing the stuff that you're supposed to be doing. You're kind of on top of things. You know, I have a friend very, very on top of AI. Like every day he's like reading up on AI. I don't know how the fuck he finds the time to do that shit. I can never do it. But he does it, right? And he's objectively valuable to the AI space. He just is. So of course people are going to want him around. And I realized people want to live through you. And this is why it's very difficult to really make tons of connections around you, because connection kind of implies that you have to be in fairly a similar location in terms of methodology, ideology, in terms of the way that you actually present to the public. Looking at all these events, objectively, nobody good was there. Nobody that was even like worthy was there at the time. Like, I didn't want to go to any of that shit. One guy, he contacted me, he's from the UK. He's like, oh, you know, me and my friend, we're going to go to Greece and we're going to go helicopter riding and in these like 3 islands. I didn't give a fuck, right? I told him, I'm like, okay, who cares? Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who the fuck your friend is. The guy sent me a picture of his friend. I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of here. Like, who are you people? But that's the point, bro. Like, so many people are like actually ridiculous. So many people are ridiculous. The people that I know that are productive, like I told you, Southeast Asia right now, traveling, 2 of them. One of them, Australia. One of them, West Europe, specifically Germany right now. Another one, specifically in, I don't even know where the fuck this guy's at. This guy's always on some new location. You don't need everyone, or you don't really need anyone. You don't really need any of that stuff. What you need is a viable product, and you need a plan and a means to move forward. That's what you need. Why is this the most important thing out of everything? It's because, look, if you've got no optimism in your situation, meaning potentially you could wake up tomorrow and everything's changed, as in you hit an epiphany, you break a ceiling in your business, you maybe develop something or you finally fix the code and figure it out on your software or whatever. Any one of these, if one of these things could potentially happen to you tomorrow, or the next day, the day after that, then you're going to be in a very good situation. You're going to obviously be happy. You're not going to be in a depressed state because the optimism is always going to be there. If you're someone who's like kind of in a, they call it a dead end job, right? And I think it's dead end for a different reason. I think it's dead end because people don't really have a means of optimism. What are you going to be optimistic about? Because you're going to inevitably wake up to the same situation over and over, right? The optimism is only going to come as you develop something. You break beyond that means. For all the people who feel like they're very, very much like alone right now, they don't really know what the fuck they're doing. They may be like, they have like an attention span problem because of scrolling all fucking day, etc. Your actual problem is that you're not doing anything, right? If you're on development, you're going to spend like 8 hours on that shit if it really means that tomorrow you could wake up and your situation is different. I'm serious, honestly, you know, like I'm somebody who used to go to a coffee shop with my laptop at some point for like a month. I'm going to be honest with you. And I used to be like, you know what? I brought my laptop out here. It's a brand new laptop. It's got the top specs and everything. Just for what? to do nothing. Like I literally brought it out there just to do nothing with it. I had no means to do anything. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really have anything set in stone that I had to do that was going to advance me forward. Why? Because I was delaying the inevitable. I was delaying, making content. I was delaying like other things as well. To be fair though, like I wasn't as unproductive as most people because I still do run a company, right? I still do run my basic operations and stuff. But I realized, I'm like, look, I'm not actually doing anything. If you right now could look at your laptop, I'm looking at mine right now. If you could look at your laptop and you don't really have anything to do, and whenever you tell yourself you're going to be productive, you're going to kind of do something. Maybe you're going to check out a few websites, maybe like watch a YouTube video to like research, right? You're just faking the work, essentially. If that's your situation, then you don't actually have anything you're doing. You're not doing enough. What you should be doing, learning video editing, learning AI. AI is really good right now, especially if you learn how to leverage it. Learning how to get in contact with people, learning how to scrape data, learning how to use APIs, everything. You should learn how to do security stuff, XSS or whatever, security stuff for websites. You should be learning this kind of shit. I realized anybody who has just time to scroll, time to worry about, I need like-minded people around. Like-minded people around you is not going to do anything. It's not going to address the core problem that you actually have. If you're in this boat or any of these, you're probably not actually doing something. And that is a very difficult pill to swallow for a lot of people because we want to feel productive, right? And I'm just going to imagine that you do high-ticket sales or you're in business or something along the lines, right? You could use this as like a marketing thing because you're going to realize if you take on a ton of sales calls like I have, you're going to realize a lot of these people don't actually have a reason for anything that they're telling you, right? Like people would, especially if it's a high-ticket product, they're going to store, right? They're not going to want to really move forward today. They're going to, can I book a meeting tomorrow? The fuck's going to make the difference, right? What the fuck is the difference between closing today and closing tomorrow? It's that they're delaying the inevitable, which is wasting your time and not wanting to close, right? It's the same type of attitude that they have when they open up their laptop. They don't really know what they're doing. They need to be guided and directed on what to do. They cannot really figure it out. Swear to God, if there's a book that's actually useful, I'm going to pick that up tomorrow. I'm going to use it. If somebody comments like an AI that's actually useful for my situation, of course I'm going to use it. Of course I'm going to look into it. I'm going to become a pro in 2 days on it. I didn't know anything about the new AI softwares that just came out, but I just pivoted like 2 weeks ago. And then now I built 2 softwares that help me personally. And one of them I'm going to probably commercialize at some point. But like I said, when you get a skill, this is when you're empowered. You've actually possessed the power now. And then what happens? All of the people that you want to meet, the people that you wish to meet, everyone, they're going to want to reach out to you. They're going to be in your presence. You're going to find a way to get in contact with them, etc. If you've been doing business, you know about these emails that come into, your business and they say, oh, here's my Loom video that I made and I'm doing marketing services. Nobody gives a fuck when it's marketing services. Nobody cares. But one time somebody came to me and it was actually something valuable. He said, I made a better version of your website. And I'm like, what? I took a look at it. I actually opened it. Anytime if you're one of those Loom people, right, first off, leave most of us alone unless you have a good product. But if you're one of these Loom people, like listen up because this is going to help you. We always see that shit. Whenever you put like whatever title or whatever, like we always see that shit. But most of us don't really give a fuck, right? And the follow-up emails don't work either. The every 3 days, hey, have you seen what I built, etc. None of this stuff works. But this one time, this guy sent a Loom video. It was 60 seconds, like the best 60-second pitch ever. But the title was really good. And it was a little bit deceptive. But he said, your site's not working. I fixed it. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean my site's not working? I go on it. And then, I forward it also to someone on my team as well. And I looked at it and I'm like, this guy actually built a better version of my site. And I contacted him. I'm like, I'm not really in need right now, but I want to get your contact just in case, because I know other people that might also use you. This is how you do it, guys. Imagine he emailed me and he was just like, hey, you know what? I want to start making websites one day. I want to do, yeah, nobody cares what you want to do, right? People care about what you have right now, currently. I used to be that useless person when I was like 17, 18, where I didn't really have anything in place. You know, I was kind of ambiguous about what I was doing. If I kind of had the skill, I would do it. If I didn't have the skill, I would like get the skill and then try to do it for someone, like all these kinds of things. I did everything, right? 18, on the verge of like 19, that's when I first really succeeded. Obviously, this is when what I'm saying is obvious, but I have a low following. But I moved to the Caribbean at the time. Me and my friend, we just decided to just go somewhere random. We moved to the Caribbean at the time during COVID. Like I said, I was really ambiguous at the time, and I never really expected I'm gonna meet everyone that I always wanted to meet. But I ended up meeting everyone. And then I realized I didn't really like anyone. And then I decided, all right, cool. You know what? Maybe not put these people on a pedestal, right? Look at the other demographics of people who are a lot more like education oriented, a lot more like not social media like, and I found my crowd over there. I even first saw it on Instagram around that time, and I did really, really good with that Instagram. Obviously, I didn't really have my face out there or nothing, but when it came to that Instagram, I met a ton of people on there, you know? Some of the people that are across the world that I went to, I met some of those people on social media at the time. I realized it took 3 posts for me to make, for me to meet a ton of people, for me to meet like 10 people that I actually interacted with on a semi-regular basis, and some of them very regularly. And I realized social media is a very good way to connect as well when you have something. If you're in a position that's elevated, you've got something, you've got a reason for people to contact you. You can have discussions with people. You can reply to people's stories. And this is where you really put yourself in a position to where you could actually be around a ton of people. But remember, the goal isn't to be around a ton of people. The goal is to really understand that it's perfectly normal to be away from everyone for like 6, 7 months, 10 months even sometimes. I spent 9 months completely away from people. I've spent, prior to that, a different year, I've spent like 8 months away from people. I'm thinking, I spent 9 months in a random cabin with my 2 friends, just like working on things and working on business. So I don't know if you call that isolated. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing online is stupid, right? It's a nonsense perception that you shouldn't have a reality. And it is better to be isolated and in a position of power and being able to really do whatever the hell you want than to always be constrained by people. But you know, figure out your priorities, right? For me, the priority is location freedom. That's what I care about. I want to be anywhere, anytime, doing whatever, meeting random people everywhere. That's what I want to do. That's what I value. If that's what you value, then it's fairly easy to do that. Once you're doing fairly well, you got to get to like 10K a month, and then you're able to kind of do some of that. But this is why it could get really, really lonely when it comes to doing business, and it's a good thing.